Hey YouTube, welcome to Like a Doll's Eyes. It's been a while since I've done a review. Well, not too long, but it's been a couple weeks. Breaking my rule a little bit here. I said I would just do reviews that of pieces I've had for a while, but it's a little too much fun to do these pieces that I get early, and I don't feel like waiting. I kind of want to review it and talk about it, and figure maybe I'll go back and do a little bit of a retro review after I've had it for a while and everything, and after the piece is sunk in a little bit. Anyways, so I got this yesterday, so I've had a little more than a day now, a day and a half about, and I'm very happy with it. It took me a little bit to fully appreciate it. I think some of that has to go with I've had so many Jasons throughout my life. NECA Jasons, 1/4 scales, the other premium formats, and everything else. And so I got this piece set up, and it just didn't like blow me away. I kind of felt the same way about when I got Darth Vader. It's like, nah, I've had other Darth Vaders in my life. I had the original premium format and stuff like that. So it takes a while for me to appreciate those pieces when I get them that way. Anyway, this is a bit of a controversial piece due to the fact that it's Sideshow's third Jason, but the second one based on part three. Based on part three, it's really, in my opinion, kind of a mixture of a few Jasons. It definitely has some part three there, has some part four, and it has some part six. I even think part four because of the gash in the hockey mask. Part six because of kind of the more a little bit lean body and the shape of the mask overall. And part three, of course, for obvious reasons: the clothing, the hump on his back, the just the overall kind of presence, and of course the base. So I was never a huge fan of the original premium format. Not to put it down or anything like that. I never completely was in love with it. And I had my reasons, and I'm not going to get into this. I don't want to bash on it or anything like that. I just was never nuts about the pose. My best friend's a huge Jason fan. He still has it, so I get to see it every once in a while. I had it two times actually. Had it once, sold it, wanted a Jason in my collection, got it. Saw this piece was coming, and so I went ahead and sold it again. So anyway, let's go on. Let's talk about the piece, and I'm going to start from the base on up. So the base is a lot of people you know if you've seen this piece at all. Kind of unique in that they recreate scenes from the film, and it's done this in this three-dimensional way. Um, I like that. Okay, it's not great or bad in any. It's not bad. It's not great. The reason I say it's not bad or it's cool looking, and if you like it, you can definitely see it. You can stare at it and notice it. If you don't love the look, it's kind of easy to ignore. They did it dark enough that it's just kind of, and it looks kind of, depending on how you have it posed to it, just a lot of branches on it too and everything. So it's kind of easy not to see the scenes from part three that they have going around here. There is one that I like. Unfortunately, it's on the side here where I'm probably not going to be displaying Jason, but it's him reaching out. It's very cool. It has a very three-dimensional look and everything else, and a classic scene from the film after he gets the hatchet out of the head and in the head and reaches out. The eyeball kind of looks cool coming out, but I don't know. It's not the best of the sculpting as far as the looking like the character or anything like that. But anyways, but it is kind of cool. It's very original and different. What I do love about the base is I love this tree that they got on the base and the roots coming up and everything else. The leaves, the fall leaves falling down. Jason is very much thought of as being out in the woods and in the campground. So the tree definitely gives it some atmosphere, and I love it. I just think it looks great and adds to the piece a lot in my opinion. I just really, really like it. Love the wood and how that looks, all beat up and rotting and everything else. So really like the base. Like I said, this is okay. I don't really have feelings towards it one way or the other. I mean, because it's dark enough that I can kind of not ignore it, and that's fine. And if you don't want to ignore it, you don't have to. So yeah, I think they've done a better job with the Leatherface one that's coming out. It looks like they kind of perfected that a little better with the Leatherface one they got coming out. So Anyway, so his boots are done well. You know, big boots, very very done well. The weathering on the clothing is done pretty good as far as the dirt and mud go. I don't know if my camera's picking up very well, but that looks really good. Um, the blood splatter, a little controversy about the blood splatter. So it's not awful. The camera's not picking it up. It is a little more apparent than what the. I mean, you're only seeing like the red dot blotches and stuff that the camera's picking up, but there is a little more in there. But I think anyway. I mean, yeah, there is a little more that you can see. I wish it did have as much as the Proto did, because that looked pretty cool. I'm thinking about taking a toothbrush and dipping it in some paint and doing the old scrape and maybe, give it a little extra blood. Kind of afraid to do that because I don't want to overdo it. So I don't know. It doesn't really bother me all that much. Machete looks great. It's a real metal and looks good, and the blood effect on the hand and on the machete look great. The clothing is very cool. The clothing is actually more accurate as far as the original Part 3 premium format. It's probably the only thing, and that's because of the color. It's green, which is more accurate to the film. The pants, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think the pants were lighter in the movie, just like this piece. So I think the clothing, they got a little closer, but again, this isn't really trying too hard to be a accurate Part 3, but that is something that's a little more accurate than the original. They put some wiring in the buttons here, so you can like switch this around if you want it to look like it was blowing in the wind for some reason or something like that. So you can kind of mess with that and pose it, and you can pose it up here a little bit and bring the collar up a little bit if you want to, and everything else. So anyway, the clothing's done real well. The sculpt. So this looks great from some angles. I think he looks great. Looks great, looks great, looks great, looks great. Not as much. And the reason why is just because the mask it's a little too round. It's a little too big. In the films, you could always see his head coming up and over. He looks good from like those angles because you can see the head. But when Jason wore the mask, you'd always see his head coming up and over the mask a little bit. And I wish you could on this piece more so for when you're looking at him straight on. But it's okay. It does. I think it's a little long. Also, my friend, the Friday 13th fan, we were looking at it and going, "What's wrong with it?" And I think the mask just goes down a little far. So my little fix with that was just to raise the collar just a little bit and kind of cover it up. And actually, believe it or not, I think it looks a lot better. So just a kind of a generic fix, but I think it makes it look infinitely better. So infinitely, boy, I don't know about infinite, but it definitely makes it look better. One of my favorite things about this piece is they gave Jason his hump back. His hump back. The original Part 3 PF really didn't do that and convey it very well. And it's one of my favorite things about the Part 3 Jason is, especially after he harpoons the girl, drops that harpoon down, and you see you can really see his hump. And I always just thought that was very cool looking, and Sideshow definitely nailed it with this piece. You can see that hump pulling that shirt. It's painted very well. That head gash looks great, and it's very deep. So that's done very well. The mask is painted well. I like the dirty, the grungy look that they gave it and everything else. I think they've done that very well. I think from the profile, the mask looks sensational. Period. Jason looks, that looks like any movie. That looks like Part 3. Same with the other side. That's done really well. No complaints there. And that's kind of how I pose them anyway, where I see them from the side. So really, it looks great. This is the exclusive, and let me take off the head. Head's got a real strong magnet. I'll put on his one head, and he comes with a harpoon. That one's one thing I do love about this piece is I love the hand. This hand, that is Part 3 Jason right there. That hand looks a lot like it right after he drops the harpoon. He's just kind of letting it dangle after he kills her and walking towards the house to take the rest of his victims. Let me go ahead and put that in. So anyway, so there he is without his mask and with the harpoon in his hand. looks okay with both weapons in his hand. I do wish that Sideshow gave us a removable hand on this side too, where we could put a non-weapon holding hand. Jason doesn't run around with two weapons, so it would have been nice to have an extra hand for this side also. And I'm sure probably somebody will make a custom hand for that side, and yes, I'll probably buy it. So, I'm going to take this off so you can see it a little better. The head sculpt on this is done pretty well. It's a stylized version. This is definitely more of a Part 3 stylized version, but definitely not exact or even close. But I like it better than the original premium format, which looked like the Part 3 Jason in all honesty, but it was a little too sad looking. And the Jason, I remember at the end of that movie, that hissing Jason, which I still think is one of the creepier things in cinema, when he's hissing, and this kind of conveys that a little better. So basically, while it's not an exact replica of any Jason from any of the films, it is definitely holds the essence of Jason, and that's what I love about it. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll be back with another one, and going to be reviewing one of my favorite pieces I've gotten in a long time. So talk to you guys later. Bye.